What's up YouTube, this is Alex from Team Satisfactory coming at you with a Yosenju deck profile for the April 1st, 2015 Yu-Gi-Oh format. Let's go. Alright, so Yosenjus have already been established as people's favorite budget stun deck. Did really well last format, got them top 32s in a lot of events. And overall this kind of proved that like the deck had a good mechanic going and could make strong plays, and it's just really good at getting rid of dealing with the current meta right now. So let's talk about that and show you my build and let me know what you think. So first off, you run 3 comma 1s. This guy is fantastic. He is compulse on legs, gets rid of all these big problematic boss monsters, and he has a decent enough body at 1600 attack himself. So overall, I mean, he's a very good level 4. Now, I'm also going to tell you the effect of every Yosenju. If you normal summon them, you are allowed to normal summon a different Yosenju immediately afterwards. So you need 3 comma 1s to help you with the normal summoning and for his compulse on legs effect. After that, I run 3 comma 2s. Comma 2's effect is the worst, but he has the best stats of the bunch. So that's very helpful when I introduce another Yosenju in a second. Basically, he can use his effect. He can attack your opponent directly, but the battle damage they take is halved. That may sound pretty bad, but it comes in handy when I mention the next guy, Yosenju comma 3. You run 3 of him. His effect is that when your opponent takes battle damage involving a different Yosenju monster, you can search a Yosenju card, so trap card included, from your deck to your hand. Basically, comma 3 comes in handy where that he gives you the search of your Yosenju secret move or other 4s for your 4 engine to keep going with. He also has the added benefit of being just basically level 4 and a Beast Warrior. The whole archetype's a Beast Warrior, so that comes in handy. And you run 3 of him just because I think his search effect is solid, but, you know, he's not comma 1, but he's the next best thing. You run 3 Yosenju, I'm going to call it Sujik, because I'm going to guess that's how it's pronounced. This guy has 2 effects. When he's, once per turn, he can increase a monster's attack on the field by 1000. So basically he can turn a comma 2 into 2800, a comma 1 into 2600, or a comma 3 into 2500. And he can also be pitched from the hand to increase a Yosenju monster's attack by 1000 during the battle phase, or not the battle phase, the damage step. But you don't really want to use this effect because you can just pump up one of them during your main phase 1 and then have his body on board for future use and plays. So you run 3 of him, and that rounds out your Beast Warrior lineup. You run about 12. And now you have 2 Yosenju Pillar L's. I'm going to call it Pillar because that's what it is. This card's pretty good. Basically, it serves as extra protection for your monsters when you're normal summoning, and then you normal summon one of these. People like try and respond usually to your Yosenju plays all at once. But you can use your A or L's to keep them safe and to basically ditch L to save your other monsters. And that's where I think it comes in handy. Also, if you put an L in your Pendulum Zone, you can use Secret Move during their turn, which can be very beneficial. Okay, that rounds out the monster lineup. You run 14. Overall, I think the monster lineup is pretty standard. You could try putting in R's for a Pendulum lineup, or like an actual Pendulum mechanic, but I don't believe the deck is at its strongest when it is using the Pendulum mechanic, but it's pretty interesting to test out and see. Moving on to spells, you run 3 Pot of Duality. You almost never need a special summon in this deck, so 3 Pot of Duality ends up working just fine. It lets you search for your basically your extensive amount of purple cards in the trap lineup, and also lets you search out more Yosenjus. Overall, Pot of Duality is a really great card in this deck because you frankly don't need a special summon, so I run 3, and I think that's a really good number for Yosenjus. 3 Tenki. It's a Beast Warrior deck. You have 12 Beast Warriors, and 3 of them have really good effects. So Tenki, basically you want to search out mostly comma 1s and comma 3s, but if you already have 1 or both in your hand, comma 2 can be effective for getting the whole 3 lineup. Basically, if you have all 3 commas out at once, or like in your hand ready to go, the deck is pretty much unstoppable. It's really good when you have all 3 commas, because they work so well together. 1 Gyoku. This is to lock down back row. The only thing which can really stop this deck is back row. Like, monsters are pretty easy because of comma 1 and what he does, and Sujik and his attack boost. But like things like Mirror Force and the like are what devastates your deck, so you hope that you can play around those with this. And in addition, you run double MST. I think this is enough trap stoppage, because you also run 3 Secret Move, which can stop a lot of things. But between these 3 cards, you have enough back row protection, in my opinion. I also run 1 Dimensional Fissure. This is an anti-meta stun, and the meta needs the graveyard, and you don't really, like, it hurts you a little bit, but you don't need the graveyard that badly. So you can main deck D-Fissure, not really worry about it. Also, one Dark Hole. This can be your Raigeki, but you don't really have monsters on board 90% of the time in this deck, so you don't really care. It could mean, as I said before, my other deck profiles, I tend to try and make my decks as cheap as possible for the consumer, so you guys can get the most bang for your buck and like get a tournament viable deck ready to go for a pretty low amount of money. And Dark Hole works actually very well in this deck just because you almost never have cards on board. And that rounds up the spell lineup. It's a fairly extensive, but it does what I need it to do. And it's a solid lineup. I actually don't think I'll change much in spells, except maybe Book of Moon, but I was running out of room. I wanted to put in more traps. Moving on to the trap lineup, you have 3 Yosenju Secret Move. This card is Infernity Barrier for this deck. It's searchable, and it's just a great card. It basically allows you to summon all 3 of your combos or all your cards and then go ham. Because if your opponent tries to respond, you have Secret Move, and you can usually stop their rebuttals immediately with Secret Move. I like the card. I think it's really solid, and I'd run it at 3 in pretty much all cases. It is almost never dead, and it's just a counter trap that stops everything. There's no downside to that. 3 Mind Crush. Mind Crush is just, I will say this until the end of time, I love Mind Crush in this current format. I would run 2 or 3 in pretty much every deck. I'll say it again. Your opponents the meta decks will let you know what they're searching, and if they don't let you know, you can honestly make an educated guess. Like, if you're playing against Bujins, just say Crane, and then you never have to worry about Crane. If you're playing against Mermails, just say something like Megalo, and you don't have to worry about Megalo. Mind Crush is such a good card because you can pick cards out of your opponent's hand, and when they're done, your opponent has to show you the rest of their hand, so you could Mind Crush them again if you really want to do that. So overall, I really like Mind Crush. It's almost always a 1-for-1. Sometimes it's a +1, but I like the 1-for-1 because you get to pick out really important cards to choose in your 1-for-1. After Mind Crush, I actually run 3 Mirror Force. In Yosenju's, your board is left wide open quite often, and 3 Mirror Force helps to protect your life points and your monsters if you have them, as your opponent will try and use their turn to unload as much damage as possible before getting hit by your combo barrage again. So in short, you run 3 Mirror Force to protect yourself and keep your opponents at bay when they're trying to go hand during your turn. It's just a good card, and it can basically punish a lot of people who are playing really aggressively or aren't thinking about it. So I like 3 Mirror Force. 1 Compulse, just the best 1 of trap card in the game right now. 1 Solemn, the second best 1 of trap card. 2 of them, it just says no to a summon. Macrocosmos, you don't really, as I said before, you don't really need the graveyard, so you can keep using your macros. Basically, macro and defissure offensively to keep your opponent at bay, and they will suffer a lot more than you do. Bottomless Trap Hole for banishing. 1 Vanity's Emptiness, you don't special summon, and because we can't run 3 anymore, I still want to run 1. 1 is solid. I'd run 1 in this deck because you don't need the extra deck at all. And then 1 Torrential Tribute because you almost never have monsters on board, so it turns it into more like a nuke their board as opposed to nuke everyone's board. This rounds out the trap lineup and the main deck. Once again, I have the misfortune of not having my extra deck. I filmed all these all at once, and I don't have an extra deck. I don't have a completed extra deck, but I'll give you guys an idea. And I'll be listing off other cards I think are really good right now. Dark Rebellion X was the Dragon, good 4, I like it. Ragnar Zero, same story, also good 4. I'd run pretty much everything. Cowboy, same story, I'd run it almost every deck. Diamond Dire, good in this deck because you have a lot of beasts and beast warriors to trigger his effect with. Bujente Kakatsuchi, it's like a master for this deck, I'd run it potentially. Tiger Kings, you can run Tiger Kings in this deck because it turns combos into more advantage. And a 101 and Castells to deal with your opponent's big boss monsters. Also, I would probably run in here Abyss Dweller because Abyss Dweller, like honestly, in probably multiple copies because Abyss Dweller is just such a good card right now. What else would I run in here? I'd also consider running something like I've already mentioned the Castell. I've already mentioned the actually Crazy Box is a good one because it helps you play around the skill drain. But now that that's at 1, Crazy Box may be less essential. But also, I just kind of like Crazy Box, so I think it's a fun card to play around with. Outside of those, it's picking your favorite 4s. Everyone has a different opinion. I listed a few of my favorites here. Oh, also, do not forget Lightning Chidori. I didn't purchase it because I didn't want to play Yosenju as like a main deck. But it's really expensive now, but it's still a really fantastic card. So if you want to get it, Go ahead and get your Lightning Chidori's. You probably want to run at least 2, but it's really expensive and kind of dumb. So I didn't buy it, and I honestly wouldn't advise you to buy it. But if you want to have the best deck possible, you have to buy your Lightning Chidori's. Okay, guys, that rounds out my Yosenju deck profile for the April 1st, 2015 format. Let me know what you guys think about it and what changes you think should be made in the comment section below. I will do my best to respond and explain my choices and more if you need more explanation. And I look forward to engaging with you guys in the comments later. Don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. This is Team Satisfactory, out.